just me and my guitar.
Hey, what's happening guys? Mark back here on Mark's Aquatics. Today we're going to be making a little CO2 reactor. I did say if anyone wanted to see one made, I'd make one for you. So what we need now is we've got to get two little bottles like this, 2 empty litre plastic bottles with good old strong plastic lids on them. They're used to taking quite a lot of pressure, obviously, because they had fizzy water and stuff in them, so they can take quite a lot of pressure, these little bottles. But what we've got to do is now we've got to drill a hole. So we've got to take the lids off and just pop the bottles aside for 1 minute. And what we need to do is drill one hole in there and 2 holes in the other lid, okay? So what we do, we put it on the bench. Now I've got my step-in bit. If you're new to the videos, I use this quite a lot in my videos because it saves you having thousands of different drill bits, and this one will take you right the way down to about 6 mil, I think it is, up to about 14 mil. And each step is a different size hole as you go through, so they're really handy tools to get. You can get bigger ones than these, smaller ones than these, thinner, all different types. But I've used this one for a while now and it's really done me well. So we're going to put that central. Now what we want to do is not drill a huge hole. I just want to drill a tiny little hole like that. Oh, sorry guys. A little hole like that. Now if you put the drill in the other way and just push that in slightly, you'll just take that little burr off on the inside as well. Right, now what we've got to do is drill 2 holes in this lid. And do the same with that one. There we go. So we've got 2 holes in that one and we've got 1 hole in that one. Now what we need to do is get our air line and our first bottle. And you put that on there like that. Now you're going to need a couple of bits of silicone tube. I find the soft stuff. Now I don't know if you can get this in your stuff, but this is really supple, so you can drill a very small hole. A lot of people I've seen put silicone around the pipes afterwards, but with this method you don't need to do that at all, so it makes it easier for you guys. Just go in there, snip your pipe off at a nice little sharp angle like that, okay, which you can then poke through the hole and grab hold of the other side and then give it a good pull, and that will make a nice seat inside there, a nice little seal. And once that seat's home there, it's not going to leak at all, okay? That's to be nice secure. And then when you've gone through, you just nip it off. You want this one quite short because that's going to go in the first bottle, which is going to have our mixture in, which we're going to put in later, okay? Now that one now just screws on there. Now that's your mixture bottle, that is. So that's your first one. We can leave that one now, put that one aside. I'll lay it down. And with this pipe we do exactly the same. We cut that off at an angle, push one bit through there, give that a pull through, and you get a nice seal there. So it's going to go around and keep everything nice and airtight. Because you're creating a gas, you don't want any leaks, or you're defeating the object. So right, so what we do now, that one's in there. Now that one is going to be our external line. So that's the one that's going to go into the other bottle. But this one now, we need going into here. I'll put this one in and I'll show you why in a sec. Same again. Poke that through there. Pull the piece through. You're going to want a longer piece on this one though, okay? So you're going to have to measure it up to a bottle, keep pulling through until you get about that much through, and then you can cut that piece off. And then what we do, cut that end off again short, then that one goes into the bottle here, and you've got plenty of spare on there, so if you need to raise it or lower it, you can. And then you screw that one back on there as well. You can lengthen and shorten the pipes as much as you want. But what we've got to do now is we've got to put our mixture in bottle 1, and then we put water in bottle 2. So I'll just go and grab some water a minute. Right, okay, what we've done here now, as you can see, we've got the bottle now. I'll just put that lid on there a minute, and then we can do I'll give you a quick demo on what the process and how it works now. So you got so that is our reactor chamber there. Okay, now we're going to put in some sugar into there and some yeast. Now once that yeast activates with the sugar and the warm water, it's going to create the CO2. Okay, just like you would do when you're making it up for making a loaf of bread or anything like that. That's all it is. It's as simple as that. Okay, and then what will happen is that reaction will take place in there. It'll form gas in this chamber. Then that gas will rise up. It'll come over there. It'll come down that pipe there and through the air stone in this one. You don't have to put an air stone on there, but I like to use one just because it holds the weight. Otherwise the pipe tends to curl up and kink up inside, okay? But I put that stone on there, it just holds that weight down. You can see the bubbles then coming through, and then you know when that chamber then is getting pressurised, your CO2 is going to form in the top of there, so anything impurities in that's going to go in the water. The gas is going to permeate then into this area here, and then it's going to go all the way down through into our diffuser, which we've got here. Okay, now that's going to pressurise as well. I've also got a small valve, I think, which we can put in there in the middle, which is going to help our regulator out even more so. Now I get these from my local garden centre. They're for the micro hydroponics systems, and they're really nice little tough valves. They've got a really good little area there where it's quite sharp, so when you push that into that pipe it really does grip and you get a really good fit on there. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to chop that off in the middle there. We're going to add that on like that, and then put that one on the other end, and that is on there nice and secure now. So once that's now, we can keep this now off to the off position there, all right, and that's going to make sure that that just pressurizes. So it's going to be coming up from there into there, through there, up into that chamber, pressurizing that pipe, and then we can regulate how much CO2 we want to put into our aquariums. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll take the top off of this one and we shall put our sugar in. Right guys, what we're going to do now is we've got some sugar. Just bought a packet of the old sugar there, just normal granulated sugar. So we get our little funnel, pop that in the top of there. Now what we want to do is put in, it's no mad science to this guys, there really isn't. You can put in 1 litre to 250 grams, there's lots of different recipes, different ways you can do this. I just put in a good dollop of it, and then just mix it up with the warm water then. You don't want masses of it, but the more sugar in there, that should do it. So that's near enough. What you can see in there is sugar. I put a little bit of water in there, and now what we're going to do is we're going to add the rest to dissolve it. Just want to fill it about halfway, because you want a little bit of expansion there, because when the foam starts to come up, you want to give that a bit of a room to foam up. Okay, now what we got here is a packet of yeast, just normal yeast that you'd make bread with. And I'll tell you one thing, what we're making here, this is where we make the moonshine, because this is this is exactly how you make moonshine. You can do it this way, you can obviously with corn mash and different things, but it's fermentation and that's all it is. So you've got sugar and water in there, you add the yeast, your fermentation occurs, which then creates CO2, which is a byproduct of the fermentation. Okay, the fermentation, then the gas will go over into this side. Once that stops bubbling, that means that reaction's stopped. Now what you've got left in there is alcohol, sugary alcohol, but if you wanted to, you can turn it into, make it into wine. You could actually distill it and make whiskey, or vodka or gin. It's just flavourless alcohol. I've done it before, shouldn't have said that, probably illegal. And in a little homemade still I made a good few years back now, but it's very simple to do. And anyway, I'm getting off topic there. I'm getting all excited about making booze. It's the wrong video, Mark, come on. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to add this yeast into here now. Actually, first of all, I'll just take that funnel out a minute, and we'll just put my hand over the top, and we'll give that a bit of a shake around and dissolve some of the sugar in the warm water. Now the water is another thing. What you need to do is to have it at around, I'd say about 80 degrees, 75 maybe to 80, just so it melts this sugar down. Okay, the yeast will break it down anyway as it starts fermenting. But now once that bit's done, you don't want the water too hot, and the reason for that is it will actually kill the yeast off if it's too hot. So you don't want that. So now what we're going to do is get my other little funnel, which has disappeared. There it is. Put the smaller one in there because the other one's got a bit of moisture in it and we don't want the yeast to stick into that. And then we just pour the yeast in, 1 packet per litre. And then put your hand over the top and just give it a little swirl around. Don't even have to put your hand over the top, just keep swirling that about, mixing it up. And then what we do is we screw our lid back on, and get our pipe work up like that again. Now what we should have really, guys, is a check valve there. Okay, a normal check valve, you know, as it blows through one way but won't return the other way, because as that gas now is pushing up through there, it goes through the check valve, the gas then will go down through the water. You'll see the bubbles then will start to come out from the air stone and rise up, and then that CO2 will get trapped in this bubble here. Now we've got that valve shut there, that means none of it then can go through to the diffuser until we turn that, and then that will actually put out as much as we want. We got control over it there. So now what we've got to do is wait for that fermentation to start taking effect in the bottle, which will take maybe half an hour to an hour. So what I'll do now is I'm going to shut the video off, and when we come back there should be a bit of foam and that reaction should be occurring in there then, and we should be producing a little bit of CO2. Okay guys, there you guys, I thought I'd give you a little look at the trees and while we're waiting for that to ferment, to start bubbling away. All the little shrimp are up there on the grill there. They love going up there because all the particles get stuck up in there and they go and munch away on it. I've just chucked some broccoli in today, which is down here. And they get their broccoli on a Monday. We can just, well, believe it or not, there is some broccoli under that lot. You can just see it. All taking turns of having their broccoli. I've got to get that stick out of there from that shrimp match as well. They like going up and down that. But they're having some. We'll shoot off into the shrimp room now and we'll have a look at the crystal reds and blacks, and because they've got a piece in there as well. Oh, There's one of those little dark shrimps in there. I don't want that in there. That's going to have to come out. That's what happens when the yellow sakuras breed with Bloody Marys. They tend to throw those guys out. Because I did keep them together for some time, and that was the result. But I don't want them crossing back in with these yellow sakuras, so that's going to have to come out quite quick. It's only a baby, so it's not going to. It's not a breeding age just yet. But we'll have him out of there tomorrow. Right, let's go into the shrimp room. There you go. There's a nice little mountain of crystal reds there. Nice little girl down there with a clutch of eggs. Another one at the middle with a clutch of eggs. They're all starting to, all the young ones that we had, if you watch the videos and you follow the channel, these are all the baby ones now that are about probably 9 to 10 weeks old, and they've all, some of the females are getting berries of their own now, which is lovely to see. So they're quite happy. We'll shift across now and we'll have a look at the crystals, at the blacks. Oops, sorry guys, I spooked them a bit there. Yeah, if you're going to feed broccoli, I've mentioned this on another video which I did on different types of food that I feed my shrimp. And just make sure you give it a good boil first, soften it right up for them, and then just leave it in there. I tend to leave it in overnight. These are quite big systems, so it doesn't really pollute the water up that much, and there's that many shrimp in the system now. They tend to, between them and the snails, they make short work of it. But we've got some lovely little shrimp in here now, and amongst it some lovely little blue pandas come through, blue bolts. Stunning little blue ones at the back there, if you see, left and the right. Nice little shadow pandas. We've got a few little black King Kongs as well, which have popped out. Some real small ones. We always like to see those chaps. Pop around here and we'll have one last look. Make these lot jump as well. Got some nice little couple of day old shrimplets there, look, running around on the log. Always like to see the baby ones. And there's the look at the big tree which we've got at the back there. That's the big tree that we made in the workshop that time. That's coming in really nicely now. That's really filling out. Keep trimming off the little bits and it thickens up all the time. Looking good. Right, I think what we'll do now is we'll pop back into the shed, because the that yeast should have been activated by now by that sugar and that warm water, so we should be creating some CO2 by now, so we'll go and have a look. Okay guys, we are back in the workshop. Just made a nice coffee. You know me and my coffees. And if you like these little videos, hit that button there. Subscribe to Mark's Aquatics for up and coming videos, guys, alright? And hit that notification bell. Pardon me. Right, as you can see, we've got a nice little reaction going in that chamber now. We've got some froth on the top of the water there where the CO2 and that reaction is taking place in this bottle. And if I press these bottles now, I've got the valve, like I said before, this valve here is turned off, and these bottles now are absolutely solid with pressure. We've got no leaks from the tops of these pipes whatsoever. If I open the tap now, you should see a huge increase in bubbles coming from this into here as we turn this on. Oh, let's turn that down a bit. And there you go, you got a lovely CO2 reaction there, some nice CO2 coming through in through the diffuser, and that now will work for up to a week if you keep it down very low. Now one thing I will say guys, when you're doing CO2 in your aquariums, it's really important to have a drop checker, okay? Right, I've just been and got my drop checker. I've just stuck it to the side of the bottle there, so you can see what they're like. They do come in a couple of different varieties. You get some little ones that are like teardrops, they come over, but they all do exactly the same thing. You put the fluid inside, turn it up the other way like that. You put your CO2 calibration, your liquid in there, okay, which will be blue, and you want to put X amount of drops in there for whatever one you buy. They'll have different amount of drops that you've got to put in, and once that's done, then you see the glass tube that runs inside. As you invert that, then the fluid will run around, and then the fluid will become trapped in this part here, okay? Then what happens is, when this is under the water in your tank, the CO2 will rise and go up through that hole. The gas will then go into this chamber here, react with the fluid that's in there, and if it's blue, you haven't got enough CO2. Green is what you're looking for, that's the colour you want. You want a nice light green colour, and that is the correct amount of CO2. But if it goes yellow, that's too much CO2. So you want to back it off a bit until it goes green, okay? It's not going to be an instantaneous change. It will take a few hours to change. But as you can see, I've just turned that up again. The pressure will slowly decrease over time, but as you can see, that's purging away lovely there. You've got a really good stream of CO2. Another good idea, guys, with these systems is, if you've got a pump, put your diffuser below your pump, so then as the bubbles come up through like that, your pump will be, you'll get better gas saturation in the water then. That's what I tend to do. And like I say, that's working lovely, that is now. But don't forget, get one of these drop checkers, because it can be pretty toxic to your fish, CO2, alright guys? Yeah, it's always important to really to make sure these are turned off at night, and you don't want to be really producing any CO2 in the evening. Now personally, what I've always done is I've always kept the CO2 running during the day, nice and low, with your drop checker going, make sure it's nice and green. But when it's dark, when you pass that photo period of light where the plants were feeding on the CO2 during the day, of a night time, plants rest, so they're not going to be consuming the CO2 like they would be during the day, because they haven't got the light to do so. In the evening, and then turn it on during the day. Now if you've got an automated system with a CO2, like a fire extinguisher one with a proper solenoid valve and all that sort of stuff, that does that for you. You have that on a timer, so that solenoid then will lock off, let's say 8 o'clock at night, and it will come on again at 8 o'clock in the morning. Okay, and it will shut that CO2 off with a solenoid valve throughout the night. And I would recommend you do the same here, because don't forget, your fish are producing CO2 when they exhale the water through their gills as well. They're breathing in, they're taking the oxygen out of the water, but when they exhale like we breathe out, that's the CO2 coming out of their gills. So there's always CO2 in the system if you've got quite a few fish. That'll aid in your plants and your growth of your plants as well. But to be on the safe side, always make sure you turn that off of a night time and turn it on in the morning. Okay, that's what I would recommend to you guys anyway, because you can overdose of CO2 in the evening time, and you can kill your fish quite easily with an overdose of CO2. So that's what I would do. Anyway, this is a nice little project that you can do if you want to make a nice little CO2 reactor. I'll just take you right in on the diffuser there, so you can see how much CO2 is coming through there. You've got a lovely little stream coming through there, and that's the fresh gas being produced from the mixture, going up through there into that bottle, coming out into there, pressurising the pipe all the way down to the diffuser like we said before, and then coming out of there. And we can regulate it with that little that little tap there. But don't forget one of these guys, okay? That's really important to make sure you've got the right and the correct amount of CO2 going into your system. Anyway guys, that was I enjoyed doing that little video. So I say I haven't made one of these probably, my god, for 20 years I probably haven't made one of those. But I enjoyed making that and seeing it all working again. I've got all the fancy stuff in the workshop here somewhere. All the, yeah, that's the old diving bottle one, the diving bottle aquarium that we made there. It was one of my old CO2 fire extinguishers that I used to use in one of my big planted tanks that I had many years ago. And that's what we made out of that. We utilised that up. We didn't need that anymore. But there you go, that's how simple these are to make. Anyway guys, I hope you liked that little video. As always, you're all stars. Love you all, take care, be safe. And I'll see you on the next episode of Mark's Aquatics. Okay, bye for now.
Just me and my guitar.